Hello, I am David Cade, the CEO of the American Health Law Association. Each year, the Board of Directors approves a slate of esteemed individuals selected by the Fellows Coordinating Council as AHLA Fellows. These longtime members have shown a commitment to the association through their participation as speakers, authors, mentors, and leaders. They are regarded as one of the top health law professionals in the legal community, and all have been actively participating in AHLA and the health law profession for 15 or more years. While the bios for these new fellows are posted on AHLA's website, it is just a snapshot of their many accomplishments. I want to give you the chance to hear from them personally and learn more about why they deserve the Fellows honor. The 2023 Fellows class includes 8 exceptional individuals. Today, I have the distinct honor to be speaking with Kim Looney. Kim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
That's wonderful, wonderful. So we're going to get started. So let's start off with, how does it feel to be an AHLA Fellow?
You know, it's actually, it does feel like quite an honor. I think that it feels really good. In some ways, I'm a little disappointed because it means like I've kind of rotated through probably most of the things that I can do through AHLA, but I'm clearly not done yet. So there's still plenty that I can do. I still will be actively involved in speaking and mentoring and doing everything else that I still can. It's just that I have gone through all the other leadership positions. So this is just it really is sort of the pinnacle of a career in AHLA.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that you're not done. We don't expect that you're done. We want to continue to receive the benefits of your gifts for a long, long time to come. But I want to take you back a little bit, invite you to share with us, why did you go to law school and why did you select health law as a career area?
That is a little bit of a complicated question. My husband actually, I had gotten married. My husband went to law school at the University of Texas. When he was in his 3rd year of law school, I thought, gee, maybe I can do this. So I took the GMAT, took the LSAT, thought about doing the joint program. Basically, my husband said I had not paid for the joint program for him for the University of Texas, which was extremely cheap at that time. And so going to Vanderbilt, he didn't really feel the need to pay for me to be in the joint program for a school that the tuition was probably, I don't know, his tuition was maybe $4 a semester hour his first semester in school. You know, all in, I think his last year of school cost maybe $2,000, and my tuition the first year was $10,000. So a little bit of an economic decision on doing a joint degree. I did choose healthcare because after I got out of school, undergrad, I worked as a healthcare consultant. And so I knew I worked part of the time as a healthcare consultant, and the other time, my first job out of college was for electronic data systems, back when it was still Ross Perot's company, and they processed the Medicaid claims for the state of Texas. So I worked as what was called a professional relations representative, which meant I had a territory in Northeast Texas of 35 counties that I was responsible for helping ensure that the providers, all types of providers, from ambulance providers to hospitals, had the education they needed in order to get their claims paid. So I put a lot of miles in a very short amount of time and traveling Northeast Texas, and then got married, worked as a healthcare consultant in Austin. And so knew that, you know, that background knowledge, I really enjoyed the opportunity. I think healthcare is one of the, I won't say the only specialty in healthcare, but it is one that very much focuses on helping people. And I think that that's something that has been very satisfying and worthwhile.
You've had an early touch and sort of get grounded in the health law arena that took you to law school and helped you focus. And how now, after these years of practice, has AHLA helped you maintain and remain connected with your health law colleagues?
I think it certainly has helped me remain connected to health law colleagues. I have lots of friends with the different things that I've done volunteering. I actively speak with people who are, the last presentation that I did, I spoke with somebody from DC and somebody from Seattle. So, you know, your friends run the gamut all across the country. And I think that that has been extremely helpful. first of all, it's nice to have those connections. I enjoy meeting people, hanging out with them at AHLA conferences, but it also is really good to do kind of gut checks with healthcare. A lot of times there are not really very few, if any, bright lines on where the law is drawn in healthcare. And so being able to call somebody in another part of the country and say, hey, these are kind of my facts. What do you think? I mean, I'm being too conservative, not conservative enough. What are you seeing in your area of the country? You know, it's kind of nice to be able to get a gut check, even with people outside your firm, so that you can see what other areas of the country you're doing. And I think that that's been helpful.
It seems like the
Also,
connection.
communication you get through AHLA helps you to keep up, because I will say healthcare is definitely one of those that there's never a dull moment, because even if the law doesn't change, the interpretation of the law can change. And so at least every 3 to 5 years, you know, I don't think it's ever been more than 5 years that there hasn't been some major change in healthcare law. And so I think that that's something, it keeps you on your toes. It makes you think. It's not dull. You definitely are exercising quite a few brain cells when you're trying to figure it out.
It's good to stay busy. It's good for the practice.
Yep.
And we're helping people.
It makes it fun.
Cool. Yeah. So if a new AHLA member asked you how to get involved in the association, what would you tell them?
I think that, you know, there are lots of ways to get involved. I think it also depends on what the strengths are of the person. Some people are not comfortable speaking in front of groups, and that's not anything that's going to change. If they just need a little coaxing to maybe get comfortable speaking in front of groups, I would say apply to speak. Apply to speak with somebody who's more senior than you on a topic. You know, I think that that's a good way. I think writing, doing blogs, editing, articles in the different publications that AHLA has, those are always good to do. And those also keep you on your toes. And I think if you're, if you're smart about the way you do it, you can first write it for AHLA. And then if you want to publish it for your own firm, you can publish it in your own firm or also link it to the AHLA. And I think that gives it a little more cachet when you're drafting something, because I think it's not just you and your firm at that point. It's something that AHLA, as really the leading organization in healthcare, has seen fit to publish it. And so I think it makes it a little more outstanding, a little more, just a little more high tone.
And sticking with the theme of sort of the folks new in the career and listening to the message that you just shared on how to get involved, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
For AHLA or just anything?
Anything.
I think sometimes it's hard, and especially back when I was starting, you didn't talk a lot about mentors. You didn't have all sponsors. You didn't have any of this talk. When I was getting started in law school, I can count on 2 hands, and maybe not even quite 2 hands, the number of female attorneys in law firms in Nashville when I started out. And some of them are still practicing, but there really were relatively few. And I think that it's very, it probably would have been more important to realize the importance of making some of those connections early on. I think that, I did pretty soon realize how important it was. As a matter of fact, at one of the AHLA meetings, it was the fraud conference in Baltimore years and years ago, we had a table of female lawyers from Nashville, and we all went to dinner. And I think that that was something that's helped. I still connect with a lot of those lawyers today. One of them, unfortunately, was Patricia Metter, who was obviously just one of the best healthcare lawyers I have ever known. And, to be quite honest, one of the reasons when I was thinking about joining K&L Gates, because that was the firm where she was when she passed away, basically the predecessor, I knew that they were, I'm not trying to do infomercial, and you may want to edit this out, but I knew that they were serious about healthcare law, and that it could not be a bad thing to make that change.
She was an amazing lawyer. I get it. And yes.
And person. I think that was it, just person. And that is one of those things that was probably in the early 90s. I'm definitely dating myself, but I was only 12 years old at that point. But, I think it was the early 90s, and it was several people. I mean, frankly, Cindy Reese was one of the people that was at that dinner. Cindy Reese, Patricia Metter, Julia Morris at Vanderbilt. I mean, people that are very highly regarded healthcare lawyers who are still, for the most part, practicing.
Yes, all amazing people, and yes, outstanding practitioners. That's a good, great company to be a part of. Um, as you think back, though, over your career, and I know you're not done. We
Right.
said
I'm
you're not
not
done.
I just changed firms 2 years ago, so I'm definitely not done,
But as a pause point, as you look back over your career, what has been the accomplishment you are most proud of and why?
I think a lot of it I think a lot of it has partly been tied to AHLA. I mean, you go into it, and I certainly didn't go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to be a practice group leader, I'm going to be on the board, I'm going to, be a fellow. I mean, none of that. I just went in kind of wanting to make a difference and wanting to be involved, and it worked out, it worked out well for me. And I just think that that's something that has been very rewarding.
Great, great. And can you share again, as sort of coming to a close on this little conversation, can you share a little bit of what traits you feel are most important in being an effective health lawyer?
I think probably one of the most important is attention to detail. I mean, you really have to understand the nitty gritty. And also, I will say a lot of it is some people really never get healthcare regulatory because they are, and it's not because they don't have attention to detail, it's because they don't have a practical approach to healthcare. I mean, I alluded to it a little bit at the beginning, but sometimes the law says X, but that's not how it's interpreted. I mean, it doesn't matter what the law says if that's not how the government interprets it. So I think it's really important to have a practical approach and not be have a rigid interpretation of the law. I think that you need to understand, and the more seasoned you become, the more you realize where those lines are drawn. And when they change, you understand when they change. And so, really that's one of the best things that you can help your clients with is understanding where the risks are and what their exposure is. And you really do that with a practical approach to the law and understanding how those laws are interpreted.
And I think in essence, what you're saying is, as much as people may think the law is black and white, it is not.
In healthcare, it is almost never black and white. There are lots and lots of shades of gray. And I was talking about that with a client this morning because one of the things I do with my clients all the time, it's they'll say, well, can I do X? And part of my response is, well, what do you want to do? What are you trying to accomplish? What is your end goal? Because, a lot of times they can't do what they want to do the way they want to do it, but sometimes you can still get them to that end goal by knowing what they want. And as important as anything, especially when they're trying to do something with another party, do they want to do what that other party wants them to do, or do they not? Because I can probably come up with 100 reasons either way and still get them, where they want to be. And always say, you know what, just blame the lawyer. Tell them your lawyer will not let you do X. And, the client today said, oh yeah, I'm a COO. I'm really good at blaming other people, getting somebody else to take the fall. So I think that's kind of where it comes out to. With so much gray area, you can generally justify a lot of different positions, but there are points that I think the other thing a good lawyer can do is explain the risks that are involved when you take a particular position. And it's generally not going to be the lawyer that gets in trouble for the position that's being taken. It is going to be the client, and making sure that that client understands and appreciates the risks in a healthcare deal, which are very different than any other kind of deal.
Those are all good points. Thank you. You've had many accomplishments, obviously, and we know you work hard, clearly. So what do you do for fun? How do you have balance in your life?
Well, sometimes fun to me is volunteering for other organizations, which may seem kind of funny, but through the years, I've co-chaired a lot of fundraisers. I like to make money for charities. My goal is to make money for the charity. I know that I have a particular volunteer buddy that we have co-chaired a number of events in Nashville through the years. And, one of the reasons that we work so well together is generally our main goal is to make the money. And sometimes you can't control what money comes in. You can only control what expenses you pay. And so that's kind of almost a fun little game. How much can we cut? Can we still make it a nice event? But at the end of the day, we want to make a lot of money for the charity. I also take time. I like to spend time. I have 2 boys. They're both adults now. And so they're very fun to be around. They're like real people. They're not, they're on their own. I mean, it's not like they're listen to anything I say again for the most part. So, their mistakes are theirs. They're not mine anymore. And we have, during COVID, we got a little puppy who is a little fluff ball, and he's just a lot of fun to be around. And he is literally a fluff ball. He's 10 and a half pounds.
So who's walking the dog?
Generally, my husband walks the dog because I do other exercise in the morning and he doesn't do any exercise. So he generally walks the dog. But I will also say, being a little fluff ball, my younger brother has a black lab who's like 80 pounds. And he tells me all the time that my dog has no dog DNA. And, I don't really have a problem with that. I always love cats. So I have a dog that doesn't shed. He's 10 and a half pounds. He does what you want. So, I kind of have the best of both worlds. I don't really care if he doesn't think he's, my brother doesn't think he's a dog. He's dog enough for me. So
I think you have a dog.
He's adorable. He really is.
But there's where the balance is. It's family, it's pets, it's giving back to the community. This is how Kim finds a level playing field. Kim, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today. Again, congratulations on this wonderful honor. Very well deserved. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.